We're walking into the Wakefield Public Safety Building to file a complaint. And like I said in that video, there's quite a few men and women of this country who've died defending our rights and our freedom. And we're going to see if the officers here will take this complaint and if they'll punish the people that don't respect the Constitution. Or do they support them? We're going to find out. Yeah, I'm in the front lobby and I'd like to file a complaint. An officer's conduct. An officer's conduct. My name's Josh. Well, I'll talk to an officer out here. I can give that information to an officer when they get out here. Yeah, it's an officer complaint. Yeah, thanks. So that's how we're going to start this encounter. I say an officer has violated the law, and their first question is ID. I have a feeling how this is going to go. Shades are always down here. God forbid they have to face the people whose rights they violate. It's funny, I don't see the men and women who've died for the Constitution up here, or the people whose rights they violated. I guess this is a blue wall. Maybe they leave out the red and white part. Wow, everything in here says Wakefield. I think they're pretty proud of themselves. What is domestic violence? Well, I think that's violence on domestic territory. So maybe these officers should probably take a few of those pamphlets. Interview. And it's got a lock on the door. That's not a great start. I'll give them credit for having some signage in another language. Hi.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I'd like to, I'm just filming this for my protection. I'd like to file a complaint about Sergeant John Burnham.
Okay, what's it regarding?
I was standing in front of the St. Joseph's Church, standing on a public sidewalk. I was with two of my friends, observing a moment of silence. A friend had passed away, and he had drove by me several times. So coming towards the train depot, he took a left onto that street, and at that point, he was driving on the wrong side of the road. He yelled something out the window to the effect of, like, are you guys dealing something, or what are you dealing? I think something having to do with drugs. Anyways, when he pulled onto the road, he pulled onto the wrong side, and he almost struck another motorist. This woman was an old lady.
Okay.
So I yelled at him, drive more safely.
Okay.
The only reason he didn't strike her is because I had said that. So he heard me. He did an illegal U-turn, flipped around, came up behind this elderly woman, and now he's honking his horn at her, screaming stuff out the window. She broke down into tears, and she blew through the stop sign right there into the adjacent parking lot across the street. At that point, he pulls up to me, and I had two other people in my group. All right, well, and he started to yell, and so I said it was me. I was the one who said it. And he gets out of the car and says, well, now I'm going to need ID. So at that point, I tell him, well, no, you're not. You're not going to get any ID. He goes, oh, yeah, I am. No, you're not. What felony do you suspect me having committed, currently committing, or I'm immediately about to commit? Well, it's, suspicion. Suspicion is not a crime. I have the right to travel without being impeded. I don't understand why you're here. Well, you yelled out the window that I was driving on the wrong side of the road. I said, absolutely, you're a police officer. You're driving on the wrong side of the road. Yep. You almost struck another motorist. While he's having this conversation with me, his cruiser's parked in the middle of the street. He's talking to me from the road, and he's asking me why I shouldn't be on a public sidewalk. Like, he's having this conversation from the street. It's a public easement. And it doesn't matter if it's 11 o'clock, if it's 2 o'clock. I have the right to stand on a public sidewalk. And he became more argumentative, more combative about it. And, you know, I said, I don't understand why you're here. He goes, well, I have the right to stop anybody. I said, is this a Terry stop? Well, no. Am I being detained? No. I'm not being detained and I'm free to leave. Yeah, well, if I'm free to leave, I'm free to stay, and I'm free to stay here without you bugging me. So beat it. And he didn't like the language I was using. It's freedom of speech. So I asked him if he knew what I asked him if he knew what the freedom of speech was. He goes, yeah, it's the First Amendment. I said, what else? A whole slew of other things. Well, that's great, because I'm pretty sure the Founding Fathers, when they wrote the Constitution, they didn't write freedom of speech and a bunch of other shit. It was absolutely unacceptable, and I don't appreciate the behavior. And the other thing is, he swore to protect the Constitution, and he doesn't even know what it is. And if he's willing to get out of his vehicle and stop a citizen on a sidewalk because he doesn't like what they have to say to him, or because he's breaking the law, I'm going to hold him accountable just as I would anybody else. I was outside here just yesterday, and right before the parking spaces start on the right side of the road, there's a handicap ramp.
Oh, yes.
Now, there's a car, a cruiser, and 3 other open spaces. And a police officer parks there and gets out of the car. I happen to be standing there. I say, excuse me, sir, you're blocking a handicap ramp. And his response was, well, I'm just going in to get paperwork. All right, so if a handicapped person comes by, you know, they're not important because you have paperwork, like you need to get in your car and please move. Thank you. And he, with an attitude, he got in the car and he moved. My issue isn't that I feel like these guys are above the law. It's his behavior. He's violating my rights. And I asked him, I said, you know what? You didn't want to make my acquaintance. You drove by me 3 times. You didn't want to make my acquaintance until I said something to you. So you got out of the car because 9 out of 10 people are going to give you whatever information you want because you pulled up in a police car and you got a badge on your chest. That's not me. I'm aware of my rights. And by the end of the video, I wound up realizing I'm more aware of what my rights are than he is, and I think that's dangerous. So I'm here to file a complaint, and I do have the video. Are you aware of Auditing America?
I am not, no.
All right, well, Auditing America is, you know, they have their video on their YouTube channel,
Okay.
and they posted it yesterday, and it also already has 30,000 hits.
Okay.
So I just wanted to know what I have to do to file a complaint and how you feel about his behavior, like asking me my name without a crime, violating my rights. So that's why I'm here.
There's paperwork you can fill out to
Okay.
file a complaint against an officer. I can get you that paperwork if that's something you want to do.
Yeah, I'd like to do that. So what would the punishment be for him?
I am not. I have no idea. I don't do internal investigation and stuff like that. That would be something above my pay grade.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Yes.
If you saw me as a police officer driving erratically on the wrong side of the road, okay, almost striking motorists, my car's parked in the middle of the street, chances are I'm probably going to get stopped for that. There's probably going to be some type of citation process or something like that.
If you committed a motor vehicle violation?
Correct.
You could get stopped for that, yeah, but there's a bunch of different discretionary things we could do. Verbal warning, written warning, money fine. It depends on the stop.
You're a sergeant, and he was too. Do you feel that if he, obviously you have due process to follow, do you feel if he did violate my rights, noticeably violated my civil rights, broke the law, endangered other people, major driving infractions, do you think he should be punished for that if it's obvious that he did?
So I wasn't there, so I can't really comment on that. But I can get you the complaint paperwork if that's what you want to do.
All right. I've never had someone yell at me for freedom of speech. Like, do you believe in the First Amendment?
Do I believe in the First Amendment?
Yeah.
Yes.
So let me ask you a question. I'm only asking you this because, and I'm recording obviously, because that instance I had to pull my camera out. I'm very lucky that I did, because if I didn't, it would have went a very different way. I feel like, and he had no clue. He just wanted to give me a hard time because he didn't like someone calling him out. And he had no idea what it is. And, you're defending our rights. You have no idea. Do you know what the First Amendment is?
Do I know what the First Amendment is? I do.
What, could you tell me?
Yep. It protects against freedom of speech, press, assembly, religion.
Okay. And the Second Amendment?
Second Amendment is the right to bear arms.
Okay.
Yep. But
he was not aware of those.
Okay.
So I appreciate you for
honoring
the Is that necessary for the process?
Yeah, so you'll have to fill out a form, and you'll have needs all your identifying information.
All right.
Because if you want to file a complaint, there'd be people to investigate it, and they would have to speak with you.
All right, so I'll give that for those purposes.
Okay.
Do you need it now?
I can either get it now if you want to get it out. And
I'll get it out when you come back out. Thank you. So this officer is very nice. I'm going to give him a pass on that, and he's aware of, just the first two amendments. But my issue is I asked a very pointed question, and that question is, if you saw him doing this, if you were aware that he violated the law, if you were aware he violated my civil rights, and you have absolute proof, like 20 other thousand people do from watching Audit America and being educated, would you arrest him? Would you have an issue with that? Well, I didn't see it. Well, that's not my question. My question is, if you did see it, would you do something? No, I'm not gonna, that's not for me to describe. It's an internal thing. So my question is this: if a police officer breaks the law, it's internal. So the next time I commit a crime or a felony, if a police officer tells me that I'm going to be arrested, can I tell him, no, sorry, well, it's an internal issue. I'll discuss it and think about it internally, and I'll get back to you and let you know if I should, be held to the same standards as the rest of society. So it's just it's a one-way street that leads to 111, your rights have been violated, Av. But this guy was nice. He does seem knowledgeable. And the one thing I can see here is that the policemen are more politicians than anything else. Not asking me any questions on my camera, which is a great thing. My first video that Auditing America posted, I was very angry. And people got the impression that that's who I am, and that's what I do. And I only do that when you get passionate, you're defending something. And I was defending something. I'm not looking just for negative things, so that way people can hate on the cops, or, the bootlickers can get, all into it. I'm literally here to see it's an audit. An audit does not define, let's go get these cops to freak out. An audit means we're going to test their protocols, their procedures, and see what they do and how they do. Sometimes they'll do great, and sometimes they'll do awful, and I'm definitely going to record that. And sometimes they'll do great, and I'm going to record that too, because I'd be a hypocrite to let them know when they do something wrong, but to try and hide if they do something right. So I would say the first part of this encounter is he's doing pretty well. I did ask him about the officer parking in a handicap ramp, and he had nothing to say about that. These videos are great because, it's like watching Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? The reason they choose fifth grade questions is because it's been so long you've been in school and you don't remember what you learned. And that's the great thing about auditing, because it's like an amendment version of Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? It reminds you of what your rights are. It protects those rights. It teaches you how to protect your rights through the actions of others. And it also holds the police accountable. And I think, if we're going to be held accountable, they should be as well. It doesn't seem like... All right.
I have a pen.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to pause this while I fill this out.
Model business cards. For you.
Thank you.
Just make sure you can read my handwriting. It's atrocious.
Yeah, it's not that bad. Mine's probably worse.
Just put today's date.
Okay.
And that's all I need from you right now.
All right.
Okay.
So I filled it out. All right, I just want to show that I filled it out there. All right. Thank you, Sergeant Flynn. I appreciate it very much, and I'll get the video to you.